Hello guys and welcome to today's episode. This is Ojuko Bukola. We'll be talking about friendship, like friendship with same sex.
Yes.
Alright?
Yeah.
When it comes to friendship with same sex, I've heard a couple of females, they say they prefer having friends with guys compared to girls. And for me, I don't know, I feel like there's always a reason though. But to you, what would you say the case is for you?
Okay, so while this might not now be like a general answer, I think that for one, every lady wants a certain amount of security that she feels she's unable to get with a fellow female. In that sense that you can get with guys, because it's a common thing now, common knowledge about that there's something called Bukola. Right? And you know how that guys can take their secrets with them till death, you know. And I don't know if it's a God-given gift, but like it's just this real cool talents that guys have. So like when they tell each other stuff, and even when they are beefing one another in that sense, you know, there's just like an unspoken boundary that they cannot pass because I respect this guy beyond what he's doing, or because do you understand? And so usually for guys it's just like they wait for each other to come around and then they act like nothing happened. So for a lot of girls that find a lot of girls that are into those kind of things, they find that they can get that sort of code or that sort of security, you know, with guys, and they are unable to get it with girls. Because to be honest, you know, we've had like a lot of cases where it's easier for a female feels like it's easier for her to confide in a guy, because whereas a guy does not talk too much, he drops, you know, pointers to things that, you know, they feel can change their life. And there's just this unspoken rule of, you have told me I'm not going to snitch, you know, I've got your secret, just like I would a normal guy. And then, you know, there's this guy I see, even though a lady now can now say, okay, I see myself as this guy's guy, and you know, and all of that. So there's just, I feel like it's one of the things that, you know, if a lady is able to find that with a fellow lady, the case of having to sort of switch or move past that would reduce in that sense. Not like we'll stop trusting guys, because the truth is that guys have this natural tendency of being dependable. Women crave a certain level of security. They find that they can get it with the guy, you know, more than the girl. Another measure that also happens for ladies is because they feel like so now it so happens that if you know, when they say that if you want to change the system, you know, you cannot change the system out of the system, you change the system in the system. So for, you know, literally, I think that one of the things that women can also do, because if I'm getting a relationship, a friendship relationship, I have like a friendship relationship with a guy, I think that one of the reasons would be because it would be easier to state or to let my ideology in that sense permeate through them when I'm with them, than to be outside of their system and start saying things, because the impact will really be great in that sense. I find that a lot of guy friends also listen a lot to their girlfriends, because they feel like even though their guy friends are not be able to tell them the truth as it is, even though that's a rare case, ladies would always be able to. So it's more like a safe, for ladies that find guys to be their really cool friends, and guys that find it's a safe spot. And also it's more like a protective or protective measure for ladies as well, because it's almost like a situation of, if I'm going to be protected from guys, who better to protect me from guys? Do you understand? If I'm in their system, literally I'm protected from any form of harm. It could be mental, it could be physical in that sense, because literally the people that we feel cause harm are the people that I roll with, you know. So it's more like I'm trying to change a narrative and rather still trying to protect myself in the equation. So it can just be that. I think that's one of the reasons. That's, personally speaking, I think that's one of the reasons why. Security. Security and a lot of protective measures.
Okay, so your friendship, you have female friends?
I do. I don't have many friends, but I have good female friends.
Like how many female friends?
That I'm very cool with, that I'm very close with. I say 4. 4? Yeah.
How would you say the experience has been with them?
Okay, so by nature I can be possessive.
Okay.
Like that's nobody should come for me. So like I can be very possessive. So coming with the kind of person that I am, I don't know how to keep big circles. I mean, I have friends like that, but I don't know how to manage so many friendships. So for somebody like me, I would give my energy and my time to a smaller circle because I know that there's a lot of investment going on. I can't invest everywhere.
Sure.
So because I can't invest everywhere, I take extra time to pick the people that I'm investing. I recall that one of how I started being really good friends with my female friend was intentional. It was intentional, and not to bash anybody that I've had that I've had really bad experiences, because I mean, at the end of the day, everybody is a product of one influence or the other. So if you are making a decision to say, you know what, I'm sticking to this side of the line, it's because certain things have happened over time that have just proved that the other side is not really, let me not say worth, but it's not really maybe the side you should swing by. None of that. So you just make the conclusive decision to go the other way. But for me, I've not really had bad experiences with female friends. I've always been a good friend, and I've always had good friends. So maybe I can't really give, so this is a perspective, issue. So a perspective situation, I mean. So first of all, one of the things that I used to really battle with, because one of the things that I feel like affects female relationships is when we see one another, first of all, as competition. When we see one another as, with guys, they're not really competing. That's also one of the things that help ladies to be so free with guys. Because there's no mental, if there's anything, it's more like, okay, this person is influencing me with. For guy to girl relationships now, it's more like, okay, this person, because I mean, we see guys as really, good standards and all of that. Just generally speaking now. So if I'm in a friendship relationship with a guy, I'm not thinking that I'm competing with him. There's really nothing to compete about. Do you understand? This person is completely distinct. I will be doing myself harm, or I'll be making myself a foolish person to compare myself with my guy friend. Because if anything, there's a lot to learn. There's a way they are ruthless. There's a ruthlessness that they use to handle life that I can pick up from there and say, you know what, I like the way this guy does this. I can pass. So I'm not really thinking about competition. I'm not really thinking about comparison. It's a wrong metric or a wrong standard. But so when it comes to ladies, and it was also one of the things that I had to battle with myself before I could get to a safe spot in my friendship relationship, is that we are always thinking that, okay, because this person is my same sex, same gender, automatically we delude ourselves to think that we are walking the same process, or we are going through the same journey. And so if there's a hike in somebody's own, or if there's a faster elevation in the process of my female friend, I feel like it's because I've faulted in the equation. Because there's just a mentality we have when we think that we are moving in the same direction at the same time, doing the same thing, even if it's like different things. There's just the ideology that women are moving together. And while that can be true, it can also be wrong, because you underestimate, in this sense, now this is being Christian, you underestimate God's ability to work with you based on the peculiarity of who you are. Do you understand? So for guys, look, ladies find it a safe space because there's nothing really pushing you to be better in that sense. You're not having sleepless nights thinking that this girl that I met, this girl that has been my friend, we ate the same food, and this girl is doing, what is she thinking about? What's her thought process like? With a guy, it's just cool, my guy. If there's any influence, it's the guy to the girl to the guy, and it's a safe spot. It's safe. Nobody, but I'm not having sleepless night thinking that this guy is moving forward. Of course he has to move forward. Of course he would be great in life. Of course he would do certain things. If anything, I would like to be under his tutelage. But for ladies, I can have sleepless night thinking that, why is this girl succeeding in a relationship? And I've had many failed relationships. What is she doing that I'm not doing? Or what's her background like that is completely different from what my background was like? There's just always that silent comparison that affects the way we see the beauty in female relationships. So for me, I had to debunk that, because coming from a point, I usually used to delude myself to think that I was very fine, I was all good. But my people of Jesus, my mentality coming to foot, I was like, there was nobody. Grandma should not even watch it. It's like there's nobody that can be finer than me. Nobody can be this than me. So I came to school, and the first person I'm meeting, of course, was my roommate, and I thought she was exceptionally beautiful.
Naked.
Yes, I thought that there's just this way she carried herself. I'm a woman of many words. I've come to accept that she's a woman of few words, and she would say stuff, and people would listen. Me, I would have to go a long way to explain myself before people can get my point. It was
Oh my god.
we are good now anyway. It's a lot. Do you understand? Yeah. So I'm coming to school, I'm coming with the mentality that I'm buff, I'm all that. I'm getting to school, I'm meeting somebody that does not need to do extra as I do. Because I'm very extra. There does not need to even be extra, she just attracts things. People just, some of the compliments this girl has got me. Because I'm all up in my head concerning my female friend, I forget that people are also all up in their heads about me as well. There's just this way you can be very self-absorbed, even in another person's life. It's almost looking like you want to be the main character of another person's story. That person is the main character. If they are getting the attention, the buff, the paparazzi, because they are the main characters in their story. I'm the main character in my story. If I leave my own domot in that sense, I leave my own side and I try to be the main character of my friend, so I would fail. But the most I can be is a supporting character. I will never be. So because she attracts what is necessary for her to attract in her story. It took me a while to understand that, but when I did,
untouchable.
In fact, the amount of compliments I passed her, because the mental, how likely is it for females to compliment females? Do you understand? But when you understand that this is me, this is my space, this is who I am, it becomes easier to extend grace to your female partner, because you even compliment them more than guys will compliment them, because you see the value in them. Do you understand? It's no longer coming from a point of because I feel like she gets enough attention, I don't want to add to that. How do you know what your female friend is thinking? Unless you sit down to have really open conversations, you don't really know even what it. So in my head, the kind of mentality, I say, this person cannot be my roommate too. This one will cause commotion. It now so happened that after a while, we started staying together. After a while, I developed one serious skin issue. That one just added to destroyed my self-esteem. And it was crazy. People would always say, just look at her. No. People would always look at her and say, you have a very beautiful smile. I'm like, who was it? That's the time you see me smiling the most. Because I'm like, can you not see my smile? But if I'm with a guy friend, nobody's really thinking all of that. That's why a lot of times you see ladies tilting towards the main guy direction, because what they cannot really find with their female friends, because one of the things that we also lack in our female friendships is the ability to really complement one another from a standpoint of value, and not for the because something I do reverse psychology. I did that, what you call fake it till you make it. So I did that till I could stand on my own and say, you know what, I can be this person for my female friend without having to feel like I'm losing out in the equation. Was when, whenever, the Bible will tell us stuff about how that you're not your feelings, right? You can change your feelings. The believer has the ability to change his feelings. The psalmist will say that I will tell myself to bless the Lord, and it was such an intentional decision, because there are times where I don't feel like blessing the Lord, and it's not because I'm an unbeliever. There are just certain things in my life that really don't add up to the promises of God in my life. So it's like an intentional decision of, I'm going to tell myself to bless the Lord. I will tell all that is within me to bless His holy name. Why? Because it's good. Now begins to list it. So it's no longer based on how I feel. It's based on who this person is. So I'm not really thinking about God deserves my worship. God deserves my worship irrespective of whether I think He deserves to get it or not. The truth is that He deserves it. So do you understand? So when I take self out of the equation, it becomes easier to see the value in this person. So it took me having to realize that my feeling less of myself would never change how people see this person. The truth is that this person is amazing. This person is beautiful. This person is really awesome. And people would always recognize that. And I have got to learn to stand around this person, be in this person's light without feeling that my own is being dimmed in the equation. So I had to get to that point, because there was something I listened to that it said that if God is doing something in your friend, it is to incite the possibility in you. So because a lot of times Scripture will say stuff about that, you that compare yourself with another, you are not wise. So when I tell God, I usually, whatever God's word says, I don't used to like to follow. God is easier than to shalaye. Do you understand? So whenever I make myself remember that, so it took me, but I think it was up until 200 level, that I said, I've been all up in this person's story. That's why I have, because, my dear sister, because of how caught up I was in another person's world. When I started to see that this person is progressing because this person is focused in their own world, now for female relationships, of course, it's very sensitive. I started to feel like, because you know how that, you know when you watch movies of how that there's a main character and there's a supporting character, or the second main lead. The line should not be blurred. The second main lead can never become the main lead. Do you understand? So when it starts to seem as though the main lead is getting their attention, it's because they walk their way through it, or because it naturally comes to somebody that is the main lead. So when this person started improving or expanding in their own wealth of friends, I started to feel left out. It took me a while to understand that everybody has unique stories. Everybody is unique. This is very cliche because everybody says this a lot. Yeah. Everybody says it a lot. Sometimes I don't like to say what people have said, but when it's true, you say it. Yeah. Do you understand? So, after a while, I began to realize that, you know what, I'm quite good. Yeah. I'm quite good. Unique, right? Like I'm quite unique. It took me having to see my strengths and how that even as this person is, I can impact her life in such a wild way. For me to start to see how valuable I was as a person, I will still stand on my ground of I'm not someone to make many friends. That's why it can be very painful for me when I see my female friends making other friends. Do you understand? It does always cross my mind once in a while, but I've gotten so much better. But I'm comfortable knowing that who I am does not have to be imposed on who another person is. This is who the person is generally. And when I see that, and now because I know that while it looks like as if you get yourself to a good extent, it's almost like as if, okay, this person, because it takes two to tango, right? It takes two relationships, two female friendships, two female friends to say, okay, I'm going to make my relationship work. Because while I feel like as if I'm going through self-development, I'm doing a lot of things just to make sure that I'm not an hindrance to anybody, or my value is not undervalued in that sense. What is this person doing? Does this person see others? Does this person value? Because it now comes down to how valuable is the friendship for it to stand the test of time. Because friendships are progressive. They are progressive. It will always not start perfect. This human being that I'm talking about, we have argued a lot, even about trivial things such as food. You cook, I can't accept the way you cook food because my way of cooking food is the way you cook. And I believe that my way is the right way. Do you understand? But I can't let you go. We will fight. No. I can't let you go because what I see in you is far greater than my own inhibitions or my own holding on to my own feelings of what is right and what is wrong. The truth is, I feel like the very first basis to really have a strong relationship is to test the value of the relationship. Is this relationship so valuable that it can withstand the around it, or is it not so much? Is it not so important that it can be really easily replaceable? That's why. Because when you get into a friendship, whether it's with a guy or with a girl, with the mentality or with the understanding of the fact that this person is solid, I'm solid, but two solid people making a solid relationship. It will not be so much about our individual differences. It will be easy to work out. The things that I see in a girl to guy relationship actually can be replicated in a girl-to-girl relationship, because in fact the reason why I'm outsourcing is because I feel like I can't find what I'm looking for. So if I take what I need, I used to tell myself that a lot of times, because not everybody is like me, and I'm not like everybody, So if I want something and I see that I'm not getting it, because a lot of times, it could even be in romantic relationships, we tend to outsource because we feel like the very people that we depend on for what we need don't give it that way. They don't give it, and when you now start to have a conversation, because the mind of an overthinker, you have already thought about many reasons. When you now start to, you just realize that it's just ignorance. They don't know what to do, so they don't do it, and you're just like, is that really why? I feel like there's more. Do you understand? Do you understand? It could have just been easy, So when, for example, me now, one of the things that really helped my relationship with my best friend at work was because a lot of times when I desperately needed her to be a certain way towards me, and I see that I don't get it, what I do is that I do it instead. So if I need her to affirm me, more than a guy's affirmation. That would be good. It's different when a girl affirms you, when a girl tells you, damn, you look good, you're looking so nice, you are this, you are wise. Imagine if a girl is telling a female girl that she's wise. Because a lot of times guys recognize women that they are not really scarce in their compliments. They don't filter, but a lot of ladies they hold it back because you feel like as if when you give, something is leaving you. That's how it looks like a lot of times. It looks like as if I tell this person how I feel about her without getting something in return, something as like as if a virtue has left you and you have not been, nothing has really added to yourself. Especially when you feel like I think this person already has everything all figured out, but not all ladies have it all figured out. So what I started to do was that I would be very large on compliments. If I needed her to compliment me, I'll be very large on compliments. I'll tell her that, or more. Anybody, if you go out, I don't let anybody collect your number. You're looking too good, and all of that. And I realized that over time, it became easier for her to also pass those kind of compliments. So it's just like a very safe. You're looking good. I tell you straight. If any guy tells you, any other lady, because there is value in that relationship, it's easier for pass compliments. So a lot of times, what we need, because the truth is that, I feel like guy to girl relationship is always the second option. At the basic mind of a girl, I believe you always want a connection with your fellow girl. When you don't get it, that's when you outsource. And what we outsource, we find. What we look for, we find. So there's that content. That's why people say stuff like, I'm closer to guys than I'm closer to girls, because girls are just someone. Your gender is just someone. You understand? you know these things.
Yeah.
But it's coming from a point of where you actually wanted it to work out the way you wanted it. So for me, I wasn't quick to be overwhelmed with another person's world or how this person was moving forward, that I neglected, who I am or where I'm really coming from. Because I mean, somebody like me, I was very ambitious coming to school. Why did all of those dreams now chase me? Because I saw another fellow girl. Our being beautiful did not diminish me being beautiful. It just means that we are two beautiful people that can take on the world together. So, while being wise does not diminish my wisdom. If anything, there's a complementary thing that happens in the equation. So this is a tip now. If you really want to make your female friendship work and you see that it's not really working and you feel like you're not so much as the problem in the equation, the things that you desperately want, because it works even in romantic relationships. A lot of times when you want your guy to come correct, or you want him to show up or do things, instead of, especially people that don't know how to state their needs, you hardly find women. Anyway, I don't know, this is not general, but for me now, I find it hard to communicate my needs because it makes it look as if it makes it obvious that I'm in need. It makes you know that I'm in need. So if I tell you, you start to give the vibe or the opinion that I'm lacking in something. So what I do, the countermeasure that I do is that I start to do it to you. If I need you to text me, and I see that I don't get, because one of the ways you get me is you text me. So if you don't text me, I start to text you. By default, you respond to my text. And one of these days, you wake up in the morning, it's like, let me text this babe. So it's just the way it works. I think it's general. I find that that's how it works. So if you want something, Grace was mentioning something of how that you're not looking to change the system in that sense, but to impact the people around you, or the people that you get to be you get to be in the same circle with. That's just how it works. You're not really looking to change that person, because that person has lived 10 years plus of their lives without you. That person has had a wealth of experience that has nothing to do with you in it. So you coming into the equation now in that person's life should count for something. If you are quick to give up and say, because of these certain things I've been hurt in the past by female friends, they are not to be trusted and all of that, you would miss out on the beauty of good female friendships. So don't give up too early. Good female friendships exist, but it starts first. I think that you will not have issues with finding a good female friend if you realize that you are somebody of value, meeting somebody that is also of value, bringing something valuable to the valuable relationship. So that's just how it works. So I guess
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't have any other thing to say. So have a wonderful week, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.